Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. Today, I will be reading from the rSlash Entitled People subreddit. So let's jump into it. Entitled Dad wants my wife and I to get rid of our dog. I come from a South Asian Muslim family. In Islam, dogs are not allowed indoors because they are supposedly dirty and thus invalidate any prayer done in the home. Ignoring how dumb that is, considering dogs in the US are probably cleaner than many people back in my home country. I personally am not religious. I know how to pray and will do prayers with relatives if visiting their homes and for certain holidays. Besides that, pretty far from a Muslim in my personal views, and don't regard religion highly in general. I am married to a non-Muslim Caucasian woman who had a lovely dog since before we met. I was always okay with dogs, but obviously never had one growing up. I not only fell in love with my wife, but also her dog. I am a full-fledged dog person. When my parents found out I was dating a non-Muslim and Caucasian woman, it was devastating to them. They always figured I would have an arranged marriage. My mom, however, was quick to get over it once she realized my wife is a great person and was happy to have a daughter-in-law. My dad eventually also seemed to get over it, but is very religious and was not happy about the dog. He wanted us to get rid of her. We were able to work with my local imam, who said it was actually fine for us to have a dog, since you can't just throw a living animal away, and if we kept a separate room for prayers. My parents and I live in separate homes, so us having a dog in no way impacts their home. Current, after having the imam speak with my dad, thought that was it. My dad uses the yard at my house for gardening, and our dog did its business in the garden area. Normally she stays away from this area, but dogs will do dog things. We normally check 2 to 3 times a day to clean up our yard of any poop. Just happened to not do so that day because it was raining in the morning and we had gone to our friend's place in the afternoon. Planned on cleaning up the yard once we got home. For some reason, my dad had come over. He got pissed, started yelling at me, and asked again when we were going to get rid of our dog. He didn't like that the dog used the yard, and it's against the religion, and apparently he can't bring his friends or my cousin over to our house because of the dog. I told him we're not getting rid of the dog. I pointed out how many non-Muslim things he has done, which probably wasn't the best idea, and that I don't care if he can't randomly bring people over to my house. We wouldn't want him to do that anyway, dog or not. He huffed and puffed and then drove home where he did some more complaining to my mom and got into an argument about it with my younger brother, who, like me, isn't very religious. Oh man, the audacity of that man, demanding someone else make changes to their yard for his convenience. Jeez. I do know that South Asian culture is just very family oriented, which I do appreciate to a degree. However, if I were OP, I'd just be like, Dad, this yard is more the dog's than it is yours, so if you don't like it, then tough shit, pun intended, and you can go find a different garden that better suits your unreasonable needs. Karen cancels order because she didn't believe shrimp was a meat. This is from when I worked at a tiny pickup delivery restaurant in an affluent area by a major university and hospital. Most customers were from surrounding neighborhoods or drunk/high uni students and stressed out nurses. This was my second job, but the first one where I had to deal with customers face to face. I was given no training, so it was a bit of a learning curve. Enter Karen, who looked like she was born with not just a chip, but a whole block on both shoulders, waddled in a fine afternoon and ordered one of our more popular items, fried rice. Our fried rice had the option to add a meat for $1 more. Karen specifically wanted shrimp fried rice. Alright ma'am, that'd be $6.66. I don't actually remember the prices. What? But the menu says $5.66. Yes, madam, but meat costs $1. Face fills with pure disbelief and contempt, lip curling up in growing outrage. Then she ground out in a near hiss, Shrimp is a meat? Shocked at the ridiculous question, also thinking that it's clearly listed under meats on the menu. And oh my Gyarados, what do I do? Me.exe has stopped functioning. Yes madam, meat is when you partake of a living creature's flesh. And it used to be a living animal swimming around in the ocean. Wiggles a hand to emphasize without thinking, because brain now broken. Karen snorts like an angry bull. How dare you? This is a scam. Shrimp isn't a meat. This is a ripoff. Do you want to order the shrimp fried rice, ma'am? Or perhaps a regular one? Cancel it. She then storms out through the thankfully propped open door. Okay. Fortunately, she never returned, and the shift manager, when he returned from a delivery, thought it was hilarious. Did Karen think shrimp grew on trees? That she could just go to the garden center and purchase some shrimp seeds and grow a shrimp bush? Great googly moogly. Wouldn't that be something though, a shrimp tree? Probably wouldn't smell very good. You can't fire me. I have kids. This was many years ago when I was the shop steward for a union. This means I was the one who had to mediate grievances between employees and management. Manager calls me to discuss an issue with an employee he wanted to fire. He had done progressive discipline, had given her many chances, and was now just done. The issue was, the woman just didn't want to show up for work. He told me how many chances he had given her, and he wanted me present for her termination notice. It went like this. Entitled woman, do you know why I asked for this meeting and why I asked the shop steward to be present? No, I have no idea. You were supposed to work yesterday 8 to 4:30, and that was written on the schedule, correct? Yes, but I overslept. Yes, and when you didn't show up for work, I called you several times, and you didn't answer. I couldn't hear my phone. I overslept, but when I woke up, I called you. That's true. You called me at 10:45, which is almost 3 hours after you were supposed to be at work. I called you as soon as I woke up. Yes, and you told me that you would be in to finish your shift. I did. I came into work as soon as I could. You showed up at 2:30. That's over 3 hours after you told me you were on your way in. I couldn't find daycare for my kids. Didn't you already arrange for daycare because you knew you were on the schedule for 8? But my daycare won't let me bring the kids in late. We've had this talk before, and I have given you several warnings that if you can't show up for work when you were scheduled, I was going to have to let you go. That's not fair. It's not my fault I couldn't find daycare. What's not fair is having your coworkers forced to work double shifts because you don't show up to relieve them. Finding daycare for your kids is your responsibility. If you want to work here, you have to be able to show up and work. You can't fire me. It's FMLA. Family Medical Leave Act that states you can't be fired or docked pay if you are staying home to care for a sick family member. Were your kids sick? I thought you said you overslept. No, I overslept, but I can't leave my kids without daycare, so it's FMLA. At this point, I step in. Entitled woman, I would like to help you here, but if you just don't show up for work, there is no way I can save your job. You have been given more warnings, reprimands, and extra chances than our contract requires, and I don't have any grounds to grieve this termination. It's FMLA. I had to stay with my kids. You can grieve this under FMLA. FMLA only applies if your kids are sick. You just overslept. FMLA, it's because of my kids. Can't leave my kids. FMLA, you can't fire me. Okay, I think we're done here. Here's your termination notice. We are going to ask you to leave the building now. Security will escort you to your locker to clear out your stuff. FMLA, I have kids. You can't fire me if I have kids. Security shows up and she is escorted to her locker and out of the building, all the while screaming at the top of her lungs. They fired me because I have kids. I'm going to sue all of you. I'm going to own this business. You are all going to be fired. I have kids. You can't fire me because I have kids. Unfortunately, no one explained to her that having a job wasn't all about us agreeing to give you a paycheck. You actually have to show up for the job and do the work. She tried to protest her firing, was denied unemployment, tried to register a complaint against me with the union for failure to represent, the manager for sexual discrimination, and the business for failure to uphold FMLA. Sigh, you just can't fix bulletproof stupid. Unfortunately, entitled people like this will never learn their lesson, even after something as drastic as being fired. They always play the victim, and I guarantee that this woman probably actually doesn't think that she's in the wrong. It will never be her fault. Isn't it crazy that people like this actually exist? It makes me scared to have kids of my own one day, and to possibly encounter moms like this at their school. Or even worse, my child's friend's mother is a Karen. Ugh, terrifying. But anyways, that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed those 3 entitled people stories. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!